I hope you're ready for things to start blazing by a lot faster. Welcome back to AM2R. There's a couple things I mean by that, and not the least of which is that we're just fighting a Gamma straight off the bat immediately. Important thing to note, and an important thing that this fight will teach you, Gamma's electricity-based attacks can destroy sand blocks. And you might notice those two down at the very bottom that are covering up this little gap in the floor. If you are standing there and get those sand blocks destroyed from underneath you, you will probably fall through and transition to this room and have to restart that fight, which is not the best. So try and keep the Gamma as far away from that as possible. It's definitely doable, you just have to kind of keep yourself up high so they also go up high. But the main reason I wanted to come down here first, as you might have been foreshadowed by those beautiful, beautiful yellow blocks, this is where we get the speed booster. And if you know anything about me and about 2D Metroid, you know that the speed booster is my favorite item possibly in any video game. And this game does it justice for sure. There's a lot of places to use it. You get it pretty much halfway through the game, so there's a lot of game left to use it in. I would say a little under halfway, actually. And the rooms, pretty much every room after this point, is built around you being able to use it in some capacity. It's so good. But it's not even just that we have the speed booster at this point, it's that we have the speed booster in combination with the space jump at pretty much the exact same time as one another. We got them literally minutes apart. And those two items, when combined, just give you so much mobility. It's the best feeling in the world. And now we have the Spazer, so our ability to actually deal with these annoying guys is so vastly improved. But yeah, you can see, right there, secret speed booster passage. Why is it there? Just to make you feel good going fast. There is no other reason for it. Well, I guess speedrunning purposes also, but the same thing, really. These rooms, this game from here on out is built around you playing quickly and being able to just blaze through things, and it feels so satisfying. Admittedly, some of the later areas are a bit less designed around this because, I mean, this is essentially the speed booster's home turf, so they want to make sure you get as much mileage out of it as possible. And that, what I did right there, that is in fact the Mach Ball. A technique that existed in Super Metroid but was, well, let's just say unintended, but has been fully realized in this game as a fully intentional mechanic that interacts with the space jump and the speed booster itself in such an amazingly smooth way that it's just so good. You can go from space jumping with the speed boost into suddenly curling into Morph Ball and maintaining that speed when you hit the ground again, recharging the Shine Spark, going to a hitting a slope, jumping out of it into more space jumps. It's the best. You can chain speed boosting in this game so well, and it's so satisfying. So yes, if you couldn't tell, Speed Booster is my favorite item in Metroid history, so I don't think I was ever going to disguise that, though, honestly. But on to non-Speed Booster related topics, a lot of the enemies around here, I have to say, are kind of a pain in the ass to deal with. Those flamethrower robots in particular are the worst because you can't hurt them. The only way you can kill them actually is by speed boosting into them, or with a later item that we get, not in this video, I can tell you that much, which, I mean, it is what it is. They're more or less invincible unless you're shine sparking into them. There's the Autodes, which we saw back in the Hydro Station, so not a huge deal. I think they're a bit tougher here, though. I don't know for sure. They might have a bit more health and damage. I can't recall. And then there's the turrets. Again, we saw those in the Hydro Station. But the spike robots are by far the worst. They take a ton of hits, they deal a lot of damage, and they like to get in on your hitbox and make it so that you can't really do too much to them because, well, they're in you. You can't really shoot inside yourself. So if I am going through a room with those guys, I usually like to either take them out from as far a distance as possible, or just speed boost right into them, because honestly, who gives a shit? I don't want to deal with these guys. They even take quite a few missiles to take down, but only one speed boost for obvious reasons. If you space out your Shine Spark just right with the level of the ceiling, you can actually just blast through this entire hallway and just go straight over it all, which is really good. And you can even go right into this room and smack right into the Gamma, which is funny, but can be a little bit painful. Also, yeah, this Gamma really doesn't like going anywhere near the lava, so if you just kind of chill in it, then you kind of are actually safer there than anywhere else. And even if you're not really quote-unquote safer down there, it is much easier to hit them from down there, so I still recommend that as a strategy, unless you're just super low on health for whatever reason. Sadly, no way to easily Shine Spark our way back over, but, well, we did a good job at least getting over there. Yeah, that's the way I would prefer to take those guys out most of the time. Just blast right into them, eliminate them as an issue, and then just freely build up a Shine Spark as you see fit. Although, the hopping robot can definitely cause some issues there still, but at least they're not the spike robots, so there's that. Space your Shine Spark just right, and you can just go straight over the top of all of those, oh, what are they? The assembly line? Yeah, just right over the hitbox of the assembly line, which is very, very nice, because otherwise that place is kind of complicated to actually space your way through without taking damage. And this section is very much worth talking about. We are currently in control of one of those Autoed robots. They control slightly strangely, but not uncomfortably, I would say. You have to hold the jump button in order to, well, build up a jump, and hold whatever direction you want to jump in. The B button causes you to grab things, which really only applies to this pile of super missiles over here, and pressing it again will just let go of them. Now this guy's name is very, very good. They are Skippy, the Funny Autoed. That's not in the game or anything, but it is something that was mentioned in an older stream of a demo build that, in development, that thing's name was Skippy the Funny Autoed. And I realize that is basically meaningless in every imaginable way, but I still really like it because it's a great and dumb name for a silly segment. And our reward for getting through it is, as you might have imagined, super missiles of our very own. Honestly, my biggest issue with the Skippy segment there is that that is the only one of its kind. There are no others like it in the entire game, which is sad because I feel like it could have been fun to just have another little area leading to a fun, just even if it was just something dumb like another super missile tank or an energy tank or something. Just have another room with that little robot dude. I don't know. I suppose it's better that it gets used once and doesn't overstay its welcome, though, than perhaps get overused to the point of just becoming unfun and just a bore, so hey, they did what they could with Skippy, and you know what? They made them a very memorable robot, so I appreciate that much. They also made these robots memorable for entirely negative reasons. Dealing with these guys is such a pain in the ass. It's not even so much that they take a bunch of hits, so much as how they oscillate up and down in their movement. It's kind of a pain, but what are you gonna do? And we're, pretty beaten up here, if you couldn't tell, so probably the best thing for us to do is just run straight through everything and get back to the save point immediately. Thankfully, it is just right here, so a close brush up with death, to be sure, but ultimately we got through it. But there is still an item up here that we are very, very much invested in getting. You might have seen it for just a brief second as the screen was scrolling there. And we need super missiles to get to it, so it better be worthwhile. And this robot's rude, but I mean, even if you just have Wave Beam and no Spazer, it's gonna go down either way. Another Super Missile tank. Much like in Zero Mission, I don't know if I pointed this out, the Super Missile packs only give 1 per instead of 2 like they would in normal, so our supplies on them are quite a bit more limited than they would be otherwise. But they're still very useful, and especially against the Metroid fights, as you might imagine. They do 5 times the damage, which really is kind of insane when you think about it. It means that an Alpha will go down in just like a missile or 2 and then a Super, and a Gamma, I think? I was going to say every Gamma, but no, that's not true, and we'll get to that when we get to it. But most Gammas are taken down in just 2 direct Super shots, which is pretty crazy considering how much of a pain they can be. Of course, the challenge there comes in hitting them with your very limited inventory, so kind of makes sense that there would be a high-risk, high-reward element for that. Now right there we just saw an example of something that can be a bit of a pain with, well, not even just the Wave Beam and the Spazer, but just shooting in general. The shot from Samus's arm cannon does not start at her arm cannon. It starts very slightly out from it, which means that if you're shooting directly in front or above you or whatever, you might not necessarily hit the block that your arm cannon is like clipping into because of just how the sprites are rendered, like how it's drawn and rendered into the game, you know? So it can be a little bit of an issue at times, but it's generally pretty minor, all things considered. Now this guy is special. They are the first Gamma we've encountered that has an additional little attack to them. Yeah, they have their charge attack that they seemingly lost when they went from Alpha to Gamma. But don't be fooled. This is much more than just a normal charging attack. And as you can see, I just kind of whiffed that Super Missile hit, so I'm just going to have to pelt them with 5 more regular missiles, which still not a huge issue. But that right there, they will grab you and electrocute you and then just throw you onto the ground. It is quite a pain, but there is something you can do about it to an extent. Just before you hit the ground, if you hit the jump button, you'll essentially save yourself from the stun animation and just do like a flip back up on your feet, which can, well, save you from additional damage because usually the Gammas like to follow up throwing you onto the ground with another electrical shot, so they'll typically be doing that and you'll be in range of it, so you'll not only get the stun animation, but then you'll just get hit again and it can really spell bad news for you. But believe it or not, we're pretty much done with the industrial complex here, well, at least this upper section. There's still more below us, obviously, which is where I'm going now, but the building itself, we're pretty much done with. There was that one Super Missile door that I just sort of ignored because I didn't have any to use on it, but even if I did, it wouldn't have exactly led us to any glorious success, and we'll go over that when we can actually do it, but right now, it's just a couple more things to do here. We got this missile pack here, which is not super terribly hidden, but looks like there's a way in there. Perhaps if we explore around outside here, we can find a way to break in? Yeah, I'm not very good at being subtle here. There's a Super Missile wall right here, which we can just blast through. But it doesn't seem like there's anything we can do here. There's that fixture we saw back at the Golden Temple, but again, we can't do anything with it. So, that's where we're going to end things off here. We've explored the industrial complex in full and gotten quite a lot of benefits out of it. So next time, we're going to descend even deeper and even darker. See you then!